I think, the first branded episode of Beyond the Comfort Zone with James and Gerren. We are excited to finally put a name to this thing. It's been a journey, and we have kicked around kind of what this thing would look like long term. But finally, I think with the feedback we've gotten, the tap on the shoulders as we're walking down the road, or meandering wherever we are, there was a desire for us to continue, and so we wanted to put a name on it. And as we thought about the type of conversations we're having, it was very clear that both of us go through and have gone through a period where we are just not comfortable. We are pushing on the edges and the boundaries of our comfort zones. And so for us, this conversation series, now podcast, is truly about going beyond the comfort zone. And so we welcome you to this first, I guess, inaugural named episode of Beyond the Comfort Zone.
Yeah.
And in that, we want to start today by really going deep on a passion project. I'll say it that way. Gerren has over the years been creating a lot of content, and if you've not seen in our last few videos, we've started to put in a little bit more details on how you can better connect with us. And by us, I mean Mr. Sprauve, who has made his transition. Watch that series.
Yeah, right.
His transition about engaging deeper with you. And we had a really good conversation the other day where we talked about people not feeling comfortable commenting and liking, because what we talk about is so personal. And we actually had that conversation with a listener not long ago.
Yep.
And so in an effort to make sure we're giving you what you need, in an effort to make sure we're not leaving you holding the bag after watching a really good conversation and now asking, okay, what next? We are adding another layer to this, which is this direct connect with Gerren. www.gerrensprauve.com or email at contactme@gerrensprauve.com. Gerren is the leg of the stool that helps to connect with you and walk you through the journey, whether it's the conversations we're having or beyond. And so we wanted to start today with this kind of first named episode with really walking through one of Gerren's passion projects. And if you've been an eagle-eyed person over the last couple episodes, you would have noticed that we've got a stack of books here. And we've got another one here for you that we will be talking about today. The name of the book is Fast Track Your Calling: How to Fuel Your Drive with Every Assignment.
Yep.
And this is, again, a passion project by Gerren. So Gerren, why don't we start with this? Tell us a little bit about what motivated you to write a book, man. I mean, It's a lot of work, a lot of investment.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, man. Like, how do we end up here? How do we end up here?
Well, you know what? And I appreciate that, James. So when I hired my first business coach, one of the things that he said to me was, he said, Gerren, I want you to document your experiences because one day you may need them. Wasn't quite sure what it is he meant. Right? He always spoke in all these parables, man. So I followed through and I just documented my experiences. He being that guiding source for me during my business, building the business up, he noticed some things that he may not have done in his past when he was building his businesses, and he wanted to ensure that I was preparing appropriately.
Right.
Okay. So I documented my experiences, and he ultimately said, Gerren, one day you might write a book. It had never crossed my mind. And as I continued to grow and continued to build and document, the one thing I recognized was that work wasn't a place where I just went to. It was a classroom where my character is being trained.
Okay.
And when I thought about that, I felt as though, okay, all right, there's something here that I can share, not just with my team members, my employees, but also with the world.
Okay, so sharing, pulling all of this knowledge and information together, wanting to capture it in a way that represents you and could represent you where you were at the time.
At the time, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And that's interesting because I was actually looking over. It's been a while since I've read the book, but I've been looking over it again, and I see some elements of your old life still here.
Yeah. What are you noticing?
Well, number one, the name of the business, what your focus is on, kind of I'd say the foundation of where a lot of this came from. Even the first title, the first chapter, which is I found my calling in a toilet bowl.
In a toilet bowl.
Right. And, as not to take this off topic, but as we've been talking recently about the transitions in life and the transitions you're going through.
Yeah.
A part of me felt like this book was ready for an update.
Yes.
Ready for an update. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. So
I think that might be something that we will co-write because I think the experiences that we're going through, we'll talk about.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So all right. So you captured all these experiences, man. You pull them together. Talk to us about the journey of settling on, the framework, settling on the topics and subjects you decided you wanted to encapsulate here. And what were you hoping to leave with the people that would interact with this book?
Yeah. So the big thing, the big aha that I had that I was experiencing during that time, and the subtitle talks about it, how to fuel your drive with every assignment. How do you keep going? How do you keep going when things just aren't comfortable? And if this is the life that you're living, how is it that you can look at your day, look at all of the interactions that you have, and what are you supposed to pull from those interactions? What does it all mean? Like, life cannot be just going to work, paying bills, going on vacation, seeing people. There has to be much, much more to that. So, I tapped in with God about that, right? Like, what is this thing that you have me on? And what is the meaning? And I think Viktor Frankl talks about this whole, the book, which is The Meaning of Life. I believe it is his book, right? And I was questioning God, like, what is the meaning of my life? And what he revealed to me is that, Gerren, you are on an assignment. And each and every one of us has an assignment. And mine is different from yours. I can't compete with you. Your experiences, your perspectives, where you work, your classroom, your lab was curated for you and for the people who are going to interact with you. And I wanted people to be able to identify first that they are on an assignment so that they can see life through a different perspective.
Got it. Okay. So helping people to recognize they have calling, they have purpose. Everything we do, no matter how big or little we think that thing is, right? That job is, that role is, we are all here on an assignment.
Yes.
And if we start to look at these phases of life that way, it helps us unlock deeper meaning to our experiences, deeper meaning to the highs and lows, the deeper meanings to the continuous refinement, all of those things. So is that an accurate kind of reflection of where you were hoping to, I'd say, connect people to?
Yeah. And I'll give a quick example. I was speaking to some leaders, a group of leaders most recently, and I asked them, I said, hey, do any of you know what your superpower is? Like, when you show up, when you wake up in the morning, do you know what your superpower is? And out of a room of 27, only 6 people raised their hands. So I asked them, hey, can we play a game for a little bit? So we started to play. I started asking them a few questions. And one gentleman, he said, hey, you know what? This morning I was driving down I-4. And as I drove down I-4, a car tumbled in front of me several times. Everyone else passed. I pulled over to the side, and he says, I have a warped sense of humor. He said, I pulled a lady from her car, and as she laid there, I laid with her, and I cracked jokes with her until the paramedics came. Then he says, does that mean that I can create calm in critical situations? I just looked at him, and he began to smile, and I just turned to someone else and said, who else has a question? Just to allow him to just relish in that.
So this idea of the superpower, I was actually a little taken aback when you said the percentage of people was so low.
Yeah.
Did you at all unpack with them why they had challenges identifying that in themselves?
Yeah. Yes. So several individuals mentioned to me that work for them, get this, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, but they said work for them was actually a sanctuary away from the chaos at home.
Yep, I have
Whether
heard
it be
that.
at home or just in their personal life. So whenever they got away, whether it was 8 hours or part time and it was 4 hours, everything was there, and it was beautiful. They enjoyed it. They did their thing, and then immediately once they clocked out or they left, they were going to a jungle. A jungle is the word that was used. So they said the only thing that I'm thinking about is how am I going to deal with this jungle that I have back in my personal life.
Right.
So work is actually just a reprieve.
There's definitely more to do there on that topic because I have heard that before. And to be honest, I felt that before. We all have probably felt elements of that before. And I mean, for me, it was about the structure and predictability that a job provides versus the kind of accountability with no boundaries that life often
That's a good one. I like
has let life often throws your way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, so many of us are swimming in the deep end when we leave the job. And it's part of, to be honest, it's one of the things that in entrepreneurship follow, like now both sides of your life have that ultimate accountability, no edges.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to deal with when you wake up in the morning, right? So there's lots of that. Okay, so you got these folks talking, you got them identifying or thinking about what their superpower is. Right. Again, we're talking about trying to connect people to their calling. Yeah. And sometimes it can be figuring out what that superpower is can help make sense of what you're currently going through, experiencing, and trying to ultimately move beyond. So did anyone else in the room at the time have an awakening like, oh, you know what? I think my superpower is this.
Yeah. So some of the other leaders, and again, it was a group of leaders. So some of them were in there recognizing how they interact with their team members, right? I mean, they were in work mode, so they were just thinking about how they show up at work, more so than in their personal life.
Yep.
And a lot of them, well, not a lot, but out of the 6, they talked about either they are very charismatic leader, they are very helpful and service oriented. One gentleman mentioned, he said, I took a kid who was fresh out of high school, and within 3 years, he became the crew leader, and he was actually his boss. So he grew a high schooler into his own boss. And he talked about how this guy he's performing at such a high level. And he said the guy didn't even know how to turn a screwdriver when he first met him. So he recognized that he was really good at transforming individuals who had raw talent into leaders. So it was really refreshing to hear how they unpacked their own superpower and recognized it. And I looked across the room to see if any of the others were gleaning any information from them to kind of find things. Their wheels were turning. But I have a follow-up class with them, so we'll see how that goes.
So in the follow-up, man, because I'm fascinated by this, right? You and I have spent time years ago helping college students figure this type of thing out, even in their formative kind of adult years, figuring out what they did well, what they enjoyed, and making sure that they had that as a core understanding of how they showed up in the professional environment. So as you go back to this class now, it's probably been a few weeks since the last class. They've had time to think about and explore, man, what am I really good at? Like, what's the plan for helping them go deeper?
Yeah. And again, that's something that they would have to decide they want to do. Right? Because again, they're working for their employers. The employers have them on their own track. But for this course in which I'm working with them on, my goal is for those who are interested, because it requires some introspection. It really requires some work.
And well, what do you mean by that, Mr. Sprauve?
Well, I mean, not everyone signs up for this thing about being a better human or being a better leader. Some people just really want the title, and they don't really want, or they don't even know what it requires to go deeper. So when you introduce it to them, there's a fear factor that comes into play. Like I met one gentleman several weeks ago back in the Caribbean when I was there to speak. He said to me, I met with a therapist, and this lady asked me questions, and he said, this was his demeanor. He says, I saw myself, but when I saw myself, that's not me. And he literally turned away. He's just like, that's not me. And then he pointed like he was looking at the lady. He says, you're not supposed to have, like, make me see that. And he was like, no. And he canceled. He quit. And then he saw me at the event. And he says, I think I feel more comfortable going there with you. So it was interesting that he got his self was revealed, but he recognized it, but he didn't want to touch it.